Just finished up with the medieval era, and holy, that was gross. I don't think it can get much worse than that. Oh, you gotta be kidding.
Yippee-yay, there'll be no wedding bells for today.
Music has come a long way, starting all the way from early homophony, and eventually flowering into more melismatic variations with more complex ideas. And while the medieval period had its fair share of musical variety, it was mostly confined by religious power and whatever their pre-Renaissance brains could fathom. So, to put it simply, there was still a lot of work to do. Once we reach the Renaissance era, though, spanning from roughly the years 14 to 1600, we start seeing the return of antiquity and the rise of humanism. The whole idea of humanism revolves around the individual and prioritizing human thought, rather than putting all faith into solely supernaturalism and religious belief. This point in history marks a turning point for human intellectualism, and it's where we find some of the most renowned thinkers in all of human history. Think of it, even the way we think today is even traced back to how early philosophers were thinking. Fascinating, right? Really makes you think what sort of fascinating things people were thinking at this time. Oh, yeah, right. Forgot that's what today's video is about. If you thought sex before marriage was bad, just wait till you hear what these guys did for fun. Outside the liturgical setting, we start to see secular genres becoming increasingly popular. One of these genres, the madrigal, a one-stanza song, is where we see the bulk of sexual themes in music at this time. Despite the church's whole deal with this idea, they actually turned a blind eye to it in many cases, so long as it wasn't within the holy walls. This is because the madrigal was typically performed outside the church setting casually, which due to reformations during this period, meant that they had almost no control over it. Otherwise, these people were basically pushing the limits however they could. So, what are you in for? 3 counts of murder. You? Sexy songwriting? Ew. So Luke, I hear you ask, how did these weirdos get around the church throwing a fit? Well, the answer is easy, unless you're not smarter than a 5th grader. Metaphors. That's right, by disguising the real meanings of the lyrics in the songs with more innocent-looking metaphorical terms, these people could put whatever foul, down bad, and profane text their twisted minds could think of. An article by Alexandra Amati-Camperi described that countless songs with sexually explicit nature and themes were able to go under the radar because they fit within a game-like framework. She also denotes that the madrigal specifically was not a performance genre, but rather generally meant for the enjoyment of the performers themselves. The madrigal was about expressing love, desire, and gender through music, and if you need to write questionable lyrics down to accomplish that, hey, be my guest. Take Jack Arcadult's Il Bianco that one. Probably the most famous instance of this. Let's just have a quick listen. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't speak a lick of Italian, so I'm going to look at the English version of this thing. Oh. Well, that's just great. So, Il Bianco e Dolce Signo, or The White and Gentle Swan, as it translates to in English, sings about a swan and death. Overall, pretty simple song. Well, if you look at the meaning differently, the song changes completely. The swan still mostly represents beauty, but it's mainly overshadowed by the fact that death now means orgasm. And suddenly, every other phrase begins to look a lot darker. I mean, take this line. I would be happy to die 1,000 deaths. Did he actually want to die 1,000 times, or was this guy just really horny? I used to like swans until today. As you can see though, the Renaissance is really where composers played with a lot of new concepts that really launched music forward. After leading into the Baroque period, aside from metaphorical nonsense that keeps me up at night, we primarily saw the development of Madrigalism or word painting. Now, I'm not talking about this heart-shaped music stunt that composer Baudelaire tried to pull back in the medieval period. I'm referring to the use of the words themselves, literally representing what's happening physically and audibly. It's easy to understand once you know a few of the commonly used phrases. You say up, the notes go up. You say down, the notes go down. Yada yada. You say death, and you... Wait a minute. Doesn't that mean In a 2007 article published by Anthony Newcomb, he describes the madrigal as not just a result of madrigalism, but as its own distinct genre characterized by its composers and the use of imitation. Similarly, the madrigals themselves are unique via their clefing, mode, scoring, textual associations, as well as emotional progression found within the pieces. Anyways, we now return to our regular scheduled programming. For real though, the madrigal form wasn't exclusively used with sexual connotations. Musicians would use the madrigal and word painting to forward political and patriotical ideologies. As Vesta was from Latmos Hill descending, a 1601 piece by Thomas Wilkes celebrates Queen Elizabeth I, referring to her in the text as Oriana. The entire collection of the Triumphs of Oriana from that same year, which has 25 madrigals from several English composers, all end with the phrase, "Long live fair Oriana." Talk about sucking up to your sponsors. What do you think, boys? I think it's great. I mean, music's here, it's neatly written, overall pretty solid writing. I do have one question though. What's this line about you taking our wallets? Hey you suckers, I'm buying me a new horse. In an article by Sherrill Martin, which describes music in the Elizabethan setting, it said that knowledge of music was not limited to royals like you may think, but rather it was an expectation for any educated individual to understand it, even outside the royal bubble. Because of both the rich and poor generally having an understanding of music and its significance during this period, it established a strong connectedness, which additionally allowed the Elizabethan family to have its own musicians to live up to their own expectations. Overall, by having musicians educated, it paved the way for word painting to become much more of a common practice, especially considering several of the biggest composers from this time had an education. Because of this, Madrigalism was on a high rise and was quite the fad at this period. As you can imagine though, doing too much of the same thing indefinitely is bound to get boring. This period of madrigal decay spans roughly from the late 1500s to the very early 1600s, when word painting starts to get a little out of hand, with major composers such as Marenzio and Gesualdo really pushing the boundaries of what improved the music versus what bloated it. Marenzio was known to have exaggerated the use of chromatic size, dissonant clashing, and generally just having voices go all over the place, while Gesualdo was known for general music chaos, such as rapid alterations between dissonance and consonants, random key changes for single words, and frankly, enough harmonic violations to make a theory teacher switch to a business degree. Overall, the Renaissance saw a wide variety of advancements in societal norms, which heavily influenced how music was written and sung during this period, from the sexually slick nature of the madrigal to the overcomplexity of music in the higher years of the Renaissance. We can reasonably conclude that music's evolution was still in pretty rough shape, but they were getting the idea. Beyond this time frame lies the Baroque period, where, again, people decided it was best to return to antiquity. It's here where we see a return of simplicity in the form of monody, opera, as well as several new developments in music as a whole. But that is a topic for another video, so I'm gonna leave it here. Stay in school, wear your seatbelts, and I'll see you in the next time, where we talk about the wackiness of music in the Baroque period. Peace!